All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Silas.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Zane.
And I have a funny story, which is that we had a poker night recently, and it was...
That is hilarious.
it was with some of my other friends.
Gambling, it's a sin.
We always try to set up a consequence for the loser, and the consequence they came up with was whoever lost poker, usually it's like you have to pay money or do like a physical challenge. Whoever lost had to listen to a whole episode of our podcast.
Oh, wow. That's a great thing to make it known out loud.
And create a podcast or a PowerPoint presentation on it.
Did they do it?
So, Cooper, I hope you're listening.
Cooper, get on it, bud.
All right. So, today we are going to start off today with a question from one of our school community people. This is from Lisa. She said, one of the biggest and most consequential decisions parents face today is with phones and devices for their children and teenagers. Silas mentioned in one of the earliest episodes that we may do an entire podcast on the subject, which I would love to see. We probably are going to do an entire podcast on the subject. This is not that one.
It's not?
No, we're not doing it.
All right, it should be.
But we're kind of going to answer this quickly and then jump to the meat of today. But anyway, in short, I'm considering a smartphone for my 14-year-old son who feels isolated from his friends at church and school since he is the 1% of kids who don't have phones yet. What I am considering is a MMG Guardian phone with no internet. It lets you monitor texting capabilities, no social media, YouTube, and the Gab music app with curated music. It would have time limits, being turned in every night, locked during school/church, not allowed during family times, and have other such guards in place. I'm also considering making this the, quote, family phone and available for him to use, and that we send with him when we need to stay in touch so that he doesn't view it as his own. Insight and wisdom, please. Devices have been a downfall with my other teens, even though we have had parental controls, rules, and limits. So we are very hesitant to try a phone at all, but also want our son to feel part of his community, which unfortunately is via phones nowadays. Every parent I talk with has trouble navigating this area. We are guinea pigs in a new era.
Well, sadly, it's not so new, but she's already on it. So good job. What did you say her name was? Lisa?
Lisa.
Good job, Lisa. She's already there. I mean, all her answers are pretty spot on. She's already thought about the obvious pitfalls of a phone.
Yeah.
Time, where it's at, when he can use it, when he can't use it. The question is, will it be enough? She's trying to be a great mom. She's trying to help him fit in. And will he be grateful, or will it be
Now I get a phone, but I got a ton of stuff to deal with. Or I have the flip phone.
And it looks different than his friends. So it's going to just be sort of it's going to be a problem no matter what she does. You can't win for losing sometimes when you're trying to help your kids feel normal in front of their friends. So, but she's off to a great start. I don't know. Any other thoughts so far?
Well, I think you're right. There's a lot of things in there that she already said sound like great solutions. But, I think a lot of parents are starting to wake up to the fact that these phones are not just they're not neutral, right?
Right.
I think that's what a lot of parents up until recently have kind of assumed. It's it's a tool that my kids can use to communicate, and that's the only way they've seen it. So now people are starting to become more aware of pornography, but not just pornography. There's contact with actual people online that is unmonitored, and that can lead to all kinds of things. There's, drugs, all kinds of...
Well, it's just a million, like you said, it's not neutral. There's a million different influences, and not any of them are trying to make your kid better.
So here's an initial thought, right? So right now at Future Men, in one of my worldview classes that I'm teaching, we're going through social media, right? Coincidentally, right? And we're watching this video. It's on YouTube. It's called Childhood 2.0. It's older. And it's when she says that this is a new thing, it's new for her.
Right.
And actually, it's not really new for her. She's been going through it for a while. She mentioned her older kids, and she's right. But it's Childhood 2.0 does a really good job of pointing out, and it's a secular video. It's not a Christian deal. But it points out all these things she's talking about and does some statistics. It's probably 7 years old. I don't know how old the video is. But the Future Men boys in my worldview class, when we show a video, let's say it's an hour and a half long. It'll take us probably 9 hours to get through it. It drives me crazy because I stop it every 2 seconds and talk about it and draw out what the point they're making, elaborate, and have them fill in the gaps before they do it for them, make them think. All of them say the right answers. They all know the pitfalls. They all know how to manipulate the parents to get it anyway, which is why I say she has a great idea. I think she's on the right track. Everything she said, I would do. That's
right.
That's kind of what we do actually with our kids. Not that that makes it good or bad, but she's already thought about it. But it won't be enough.
Right.
So just go into it thinking, okay, well, what's my goal in this? If my goal is to make him feel comfortable with his peers, it won't work. If my goal is to give him access to contact when we're not with him because we feel we need it, okay, it'll meet that. If it's to keep him away from the internet, which it sounds like that phone will probably do, then it'll do that, right? She's thought through the things that are going to get the kid in trouble with it, but it won't make him feel like I'm part of the gang because, look, I got this bump in my pocket. That's a phone. Because they're all going to have theirs out, and he'll look at his, and it's going to be different. And it's like, oh, look, you're the grandma.
It's almost worse.
It can be, which is why I'd be like, you know what, figure out what your goal is, and then you just got to stop there. So dealing with the, and it's like, I know a lot of kids and parents personally who like are dealing with this exact thing, and it's super easy for me to say, oh, look, just stop worrying about pleasing his friends because you won't, because I know it hurts, and I know it's like, if she was sitting here in front of me, it wouldn't be as, fun to say it or as easy to say it because, you care about the person. And I do, she deserves care. And it's like this stinks a little bit. And it's like, well, he won't be happy. But if you're trying to accomplish what you need from the phone, you did a great job. You did your research. You gave him a relatively safe phone. I say relatively because we literally, in my class yesterday, I asked the boys, we had a guest come in our class. He wanted to see future men. So he sat in the worldview. And I just for fun, I said, I want you boys to tell this guy what's the weirdest way you've ever accessed pornography on your phones. And they started naming like Reddit, Twitter, X, obviously, TikTok, obviously. And when I say porn, I mean like porn. Like you can get the porn sites through those platforms. And then I was waiting because I knew there's some really obscure ones. And somebody said it, Google Maps.
I was gonna say Google Maps. Yep. One of my friends.
So it's like
college.
So when I think about my kids, because I know me, I'm dumber than a rock on like directions, and not because I can't, but because I just choose not to think. And like when I'm with my wife, Lori, if you're listening, shout out to you for still being married to me. But I won't my brain just shuts off. I choose not to remember directions because I know she'll tell me where to turn. It's and I'm not as bad as I used to be. First 10 years of marriage, probably worse.
So anyway.
So yeah, I know. But Google Maps is amazing.
Yeah.
Right, you can type in where you want to go, and it's like for some reason or some way, it stays updated on road closures and all that nonsense. So it's amazing for helping your kids navigate. I would like Google Maps on all my kids' phones if they have phones, right? If they're in my house, they're driving to work or they're driving to their some new place. Google Maps is amazing, but you can get porn through it because you type in, when you pull up a restaurant or you pull up a whatever you're doing, it's on the internet. And the kids know this. They're not dumb. They figure things out. It's like an addict. If he wants something, he's going to find it.
I've never heard you could get it through Apple Maps, though.
I don't know.
It's probably there.
Probably.
In the comments section, let us know. Let us know other areas so we can be aware of them.
And a lot of times, this is maybe one that parents don't realize how you can get around these safeguards that they put in place. So even if you have Safari browser locked down or Chrome or whatever browser's on your kid's phone, you may think, okay, great, they can't go and search up pornography or other things. But what most parents don't realize is that there are embedded browsers in a lot of these apps. You could just scroll down to the bottom of the app, and there's usually terms and conditions. When you click that, it routes you to the internet.
Right.
And that's how a lot of kids can find it if those safeguards are already in place.
So in the Childhood 2.0 video, the father comments on this, and he says something to the effect of, because this is what you're saying, so you might as well give up. It's too hard. You can't do it. Can't keep up with it. They're going to find it. And all the kids laugh because they're like, because he didn't say it like that. He just says, yeah, the train's left the station. It's already too late. And I'm like, your kids are 8 and 12, and you're already giving up because it's hard. And
that's wild.
So yeah, so they're there. So this mom, go ahead.
Well, he has a point in some aspects, which is that whether they have a phone, whether they have a VHS player, whether they have a newspaper, there's always going to be a way to access
a newspaper.
And you never know. Okay, wow. My point is that there's always going to be a way to work around everything you put in place because evil just sneaks its way in. So the core here really isn't about phones.
Right. It's discipleship again. That's the key. So you're going to have to have conversations, check their phone. It's sort of like the eye is the window to the soul. Somebody said something like that, right?
Yeah.
The phone is sort of the same thing. It's going to show you what they're looking at. We don't want to see it. At least I don't want to see it. I know that when there's trouble in our home, if Lori says, hey, you need to go talk to Nash, or hey, you need to go have this conversation with Ren, I'm like, right? Because it means now I got to go get serious again. Something's wrong.
Great. Now I'm the bad
I have to disciple somebody. It just takes work. That's reality. Parenting is hard. So it's like all you people who don't have kids,
Have fun.
yeah, enjoy it. But your time does come, and when you're a parent, it's work.
There's a just to wrap up here super quick.
Yeah.
To be super practical, the idea of a family phone is probably a good idea. That's what we do, or that's what you do. I don't live in the house anymore, just to be clear. It stays in the kitchen or the living room at all times. If they're gonna text a friend or to use it like recreationally, they have to ask mom or dad in that moment. It's not like a one answer gives you free reign for the next week. It's if you want to text a friend, have them come over or ask a question or whatever. You ask, then they say yes or no, and you can use it at the bar, the table. But it doesn't go in bedrooms. It doesn't go in bathrooms. It doesn't get used without other people watching, essentially. And then it gives them an option to be able to contact you guys when you're gone. And then when they first start to drive is when most parents they have to have their own phone. And it does suck, but typically flip phone's a great option. Not that a flip phone erases all opportunity, but again, you're just taking away the easy door, and it just gives them a route they have to really think through.
Those who've trained drivers know how difficult it is just to learn to drive, because you are dealing with depth perception and timing and all that stuff. So you add a phone to the mix. Now they're trying to get their music on the radio.
Yeah, that's true.
Or somebody's texting them. So you only want a phone with a driver in case something happens. You break down. But I would say keep in mind every other person on the planet who they come in contact with is going to have a phone.
Mm-hmm.
So they can call you. Don't let that be your only reason, because it's like, they can find a phone easily. Now, granted, they're going to have a conversation with somebody else, but isn't that sort of the world we live in? It's like, we kind of have to talk to people.
Yeah.
So again, I for my daughters especially, I would like them to have a phone, but I think it goes to trust, and it goes to like what's their track record, and it's like don't be a willing party to their death, as Proverbs says. If they're a culprit, they don't get a phone. If they're pretty trustworthy, you can put some, like she did, put some great parameters on it. I would just say do exactly what you're doing, but just don't be frustrated when he's not happy with it.
Well, and do exactly what you're doing, and don't trust it.
Yeah.
Don't do it, and then that's the answer. We have a guard on it, so we're good. It's still in your discipleship. It's just that constant re-asking the same questions, going back and touching on it again.
And I think for her sake, let her son listen to this, like our great answer, right? Because if they hear me saying he won't be happy with it, it's not enough. It's not her saying it to him, and like now he's the enemy or she's the enemy. It's like this is welcome to human nature, man. It's like we all want like in the door, but like there's a lot more beyond the door that we're actually really wanting. It's sort of like anyway, a different podcast, but dating and all that kind of stuff, the slippery slope.
Very different podcast.
Yeah. So,
any final thoughts, Zane?
I think that was good. But I think this, oddly enough, leads into our main topic for the episode today.
What's that?
We're going to talk about substance abuse.
Oh.
So
it's a long podcast in and of itself.
It is.
Substance abuse.
So if we need
to be part 1 and 2.
If we need to follow it up, we can. But I was just thinking, because I've watched the Childhood 2.0 documentary you were just talking about a lot. And I think in that, one of the things they talk about is what social media does to target the brain.
Right. Yep.
So I thought maybe if you could talk about that, and as we're going into this conversation about substance abuse, the comparisons are crazy.
Yep. It's like line on line. So all addictions work the same. And it's like these companies, big tech, like Childhood 2.0 and Social Dilemma, those are the best as far as like describing what's going on, and like they're purposeful, like I'm in the mic, bud. They're purposeful, what's the word? They're targeting kids to make them addicted.
Yeah.
And they didn't, I mean, it's smart. It's good business.
Well, that's
what they want. They want good business. The problem is they all know this is going to affect my kids too. The guy from Pinterest was like, he's this big buff dude, pretty handsome. And he's talking about like, it's hilarious. He's like, I go home and I'm addicted. And he's the one putting in
the machine.
He built it. Yeah. And it's kind of funny and kind of sad, but it's like, and both those videos are old now, and there's probably better tech out there, but there's no video on it yet. But if you watch those, they purposely get our minds to where we're getting small hits of dopamine, serotonin, right, which is what makes us feel good. But it only lasts like seconds, if that, milliseconds sometimes. And it's like whether we're smelling something good, some good food, whether, I give you a nice little touch on the shoulder, like, oh, you're my son, I'm proud of you, Silas. No,
Touching is the opposite of dopamine for
Does that
me.
feel
What's
good?
the opposite of dopamine? Estrogen? I don't know. But
cortisol.
it's bad.
It's cortisol. But it's like, that's how it works. So this addiction stuff, it doesn't matter what it is. It can be drugs, like typically we think of, alcohol, attention, but the phone is a huge one. And it's like, it really is you won't have physical withdrawals, I don't think, like you would with drugs, because there's something actually in your system. This is just extra dopamine that you're getting self-produced from the phone. But it's like, so when you take it away, they're mad because it does make them feel good and they are connected to their friends. But it's like, they're programmed to make you addicted to it. The color, the sounds, the beeps, all of it brings you back for more small hits of dopamine.
I listen to a lot of business podcasts, and it's a popular one where a lot of guests come on and talk about the apps they've built. And it's crazy because one of the number one metrics people look at when buying apps or when establishing how successful an app really is your user retention, like how long you keep people on the app. That's the entire goal of every app out there. Like genuinely, it's not like overgeneralization. That's like the entire goal is to keep people on there for longer, because they can advertise longer, they can make more money, and they know you're going to come back. And that's, like you said, it's the whole machine of like, how can we make money off of this? And I don't think you'll have physical withdrawals, what you said, but you definitely do have mental withdrawals.
Oh, yeah.
You have like lots of anxiety. I don't know what to do. My thoughts are racing. Like, what's going to happen? Yeah,
and kids don't think that, and I don't think that. Like, you're not sitting there like, oh, what am I going to do? But it is really weird when you're coming down from an addiction. Because I've seen this in so many kids, and even like just men, that were discipled. It's like you forget what it's like to like basically go through life without being slightly inebriated, like a little bit numb, a little bit just like not happy. Because sometimes, especially when the addiction's deep, they're not even feeling good anymore.
Yeah,
but they're just used to it, and it's like, what is life without it? I don't know, and it's scary, and it's like, you forget, and you see all the people around you who are sober, right? Who are normal, or at least you think they are. And it's like, they're somehow functioning, and you used to too. So it's like, you just got to cut it off.
Bite the bullet. Yeah. What were you going to say?
I don't remember.
Good job, Zane.
Oh, okay. That's it.
All right. So we're talking about addiction.
But yeah, so kind of getting a little deeper into the substance topic, we have come in contact with a lot of families that are kind of in the thick of this. And by thick of it, I mean their kids are using it. And usually we're talking about marijuana or vaping. So either it's THC or it's nicotine, something like that, or alcohol.
Yeah.
And I would say most kids are exposed to that if they're in public school.
Those are the three most common.
Yeah.
And nowadays they get a little bit of the like psychotropics from just kids' behavioral medicine that they store up, bring to school, or mushrooms or something like that. But typically it's THC is
just
the main.
shrooms.
Yeah, sorry, that's the street lingo.
Yeah,
the mushrooms.
So on the nicotine again, I don't. That's a whole different episode. Who cares? We can talk about that later. But the THC, that type of like addiction, right? So where are we going with this? What are we trying to tell them today about this?
So what we wanted to address with parents is when you find out your kid is either exposed to this or they're actually using in some way, how do you approach that? Because I think, like you said earlier when we were talking about social media or something, most of the time kids know the dangers of it. They know the consequences of it, and they don't care. I have one mom that I know from a student that was with us for about 2 years who has told me many times, like, well, he does this, and every time he goes and he like steals a vape or and we're talking about marijuana, like a THC vape, he is her response or what she goes to is always trying to tell him about the dangers of it. It's always like, well, there's a story of this one guy I knew, and this is what happened to him. Or she shows him a video of what can happen to people online, or she shows him an article of somebody who died from overdosing or something like that. And she always thinks that's the thing that's going to change his mind, right? But I think that's what I want to start by talking about is the tactics that don't really work even if they're with good intentions, because these kids, they know what it does. They're not dumb.
Yeah, so they've heard it from their friends, but I think they haven't necessarily heard the dangers from their friends. So all they've seen is my friends are doing it and they're not dead.
Yeah.
Or I've heard a teacher say, I used to do it, and the teacher is their teacher. It's like, he's fine. You know, their youth director, oh yeah, I used to do drugs, or I did marijuana or whatever, and I'm perfectly great. Or you as a parent did it and you're fine. So that won't stop them, because every kid always thinks I'm the exception. Yeah. So at Future Men, I've told boys so many times, you know, if you want to get a tattoo, you know, because a lot of boys want tattoos, like, I'll pay for this one if your parents will let me, right? I'm not the exception. Put it on their hand, put it on their forehead, you know, right, when they look in the mirror. If they realize you're not the one that's going to get away with it, that's just a good reminder. So with the what doesn't work, that probably doesn't work. We see we see kids, first of all, they'll come in. So some of the telltale signs, if your kids, with THC especially, right, if you're trying to figure out, is he even doing it, you're going to see a behavioral change in terms of their just mood swings. Mm-hmm. Because if they're not high, right, then suddenly it's just, life is not as colorful. It's not as, they're not happy because they've been having a synthetic, you know, happiness basically. So the THC supplies that dopamine, serotonin. So they feel good. They feel accomplished. They feel, you know, just satisfied.
Yeah.
So they don't do anything. You know, in the old days, they would say, you know, you smoke pot, you're lazy. That was the big thing. You're hungry. You're lazy. You're hungry. You're just what was no motivation. It takes away your motivation. Now they realize, yeah, it's because it gives you basically the same serotonin that if you actually accomplish something real, like you did you built a nice bookshelf, and you get this fun little feeling for 15 seconds of joy, pride, whatever. Well, pot gives you that instantly, but you've done nothing.
Yeah.
So the kid's laying in his room and you're saying he's lazy, or you're saying, you know, why don't you do anything? He's thinking, I feel great. My mind's telling me I've accomplished something. Mm-hmm. Video games do the same thing. That's why when they get on a certain level, or they get like those coins, like they did some kind of something where they killed somebody and got all this great reward for it, right? It hits them the same way. Now, granted, that's a smaller amount, and it's not synthetic, so it's not lasting. Your body's washing it out pretty quick. With drugs, it's a little bit worse because it's the fight lasts longer.
Yeah.
So what we see a ton of parents who oh, my kid's sad, and we can't explain why he's sad. He needs antidepressants. So they'll literally take him to the psychologist. No drug tests have been done yet to realize he's smoking pot. That's part of the problem. So a kid could be, that's fine, biologically, clinically depressed. This isn't the podcast about that. So maybe he is, great. But probably not the majority of kids. If your kid's change and suddenly he's sad all the time, or what you would call lazy or unmotivated, he's probably on THC. So getting him an antidepressant, it'll sort of counterbalance that a little bit, but it's that's not the answer because he's still smoking pot. He's still you're just sort of trying to figure out who wins here, the happy guy days or the sad days.
Yeah.
So, and all he thinks is if I don't stay high, right, then people notice. Or then I'm grouchy, or life sucks. So he's thinking, what's the big deal? Just let me smoke. I'm a nicer person. I'm easier to get along with. Everybody likes me. And he's kind of right. I mean, it is easier if they're just high. But nothing gets done.
You're making a good case for weed.
Thank you.
I should... I'm kind of going to go buy a vape.
Well, if you read High Times magazine, does that even still exist? You guys probably don't even know.
High Times magazine?
Yeah, it was an old magazine. Because again, running Future Men for years, right? I've read all the articles. I've done a lot of the research on this, and it's it makes sense why they do it.
Yeah.
The problem is it undermines their life, right? Because again, it takes motivation. It takes getting out there and hustling, getting out there and working hard, especially in the years of 16 through about 35. That's when men make their mark. That's when you establish your careers, when you're out there, busting it, because you have the energy and you have the, the time. When you get older, you don't, right? Mm. You lose the ability, you lose the, desire sort of, because you're just getting old. So these kids, they've replaced hard work with a synthetic, basically feels the same. But at the end of the day, they have nothing to show for it. That's when these kids are in the video games. I'll tell even sometimes our mentors who still like to play video games too, because it's fun. I get it, but it's you spent 4 hours doing this, World of Warcraft or Fortnite or whatever. Yeah,
Fortnite,
whatever. But then there's nothing. You're done, but Nothing's gotten, you've accomplished zip. You don't have anything to show for it. And I say, oh, but I have this really cool skin for my character. I got this new little level. And I'm like, yeah, but so what? What in your life? So you just got to, like, I think as a parent, this is a discipleship. You're not saying it's wrong to play video games, because I don't think it is. But it's like, where's the balance? Like, if I read a book for fun, right? Like a novel, let's say, I'm reading this book to help my business or to help my discipleship abilities. This is just for fun. This is like, I'm reading right now, The Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. And it's like, I wouldn't call it fun, but it's like, it's definitely
like a very edifying book.
Yes. But it's definitely like entertainment, right? It's like, you're not reading this to become a better person. It's just, you let your mind veg out for a minute. And I have to be careful. How long do I do that?
Yeah.
Same with wood carving. It's like, okay, this is a hobby. Right? If I'm doing something for someone as a gift, or I'm teaching somebody, okay, I can maybe go a little longer, but like, it's just a hobby. This is again, balance of, this is discipleship, redeeming the time because the days are evil, as the Bible says.
So just talking about parents who may be going through this, one of the scenarios that I've ran into a lot is a parent kind of trying to wrestle with the world's advice on this and how to deal with it versus,
which is what?
So we had a student a year ago who wanted THC all the time, and he would say things like, "I'm only happy when I have this."
Yep.
And they've been to multiple therapists, multiple psychologists, and what they have told them is he has like this addiction. And it's a sickness in their minds, which there's a lot of research that we can talk about behind that. But ultimately, what that kid hears when they hear that is, oh, I can't help this, right? This is just who I am, and this is what my life, this is the solution to me feeling better. And parents who don't want their kids to have that, but they also don't want their kids to be miserable and suffer, and have all these bad behaviors, wrestle with this idea of like, well, is it better that they get this, or is there really some sort of like chemical imbalance in their brain that this is solving for them? Yeah.
So let's talk about that
for a second.
About
that a little bit. Yep.
So this is the same with like ADHD meds or any other meds. When the kids go to the doctor and they get prescribed these things, or that kid's parents hear the doctor say, "Oh, it's an addiction," because it is. No test has been done to show, okay, they're actually here's the chemical that's not balanced. It's just it's a Russian roulette. They're going to throw drugs at it. They're going to throw solutions at it. And I feel like, okay, you're trying to, like the Bible talks about putting off and putting on. So as a parent, we're saying put off the marijuana, right? Sometimes we don't say, so what are they putting on instead? Mm-hmm. It's going to be a little bit of a fight for a while. But I think the more honest you are with the kid, and you're saying things like, yeah, it's going to sort of like hurt a little bit, because it's like you're used to feeling like maybe good or at least complete. You've got to put on something else in replace of that to like basically fill that void. They were filling the void doing nothing. I mean, that's the funny thing when I talk to these kids about the best high experience they had, and they'll talk about laying on their bed with their friends or whatever, or sitting on couches laughing about nothing and doing nothing. And I'm like, how's that fun? Right? So like working out, again, some type of a hobby, a conversation with you, right, that isn't necessarily bashing something. You've got to like, man, you got to put in the work. You've got to fill that void with something. So at Future Men, one of the things that we do, and I think it's the biggest hook for the kids, at least at first, it is the trades. Mm-hmm. These are young men who are 15, 16, 17, right? And they really are wanting to be a part of something, to accomplish something, to feel valued, right? To contribute. But they get that feeling with a puff. And it's like, oh, now I feel all those things, and everybody's mad at them. Like, you've done nothing, And it's like, and they're right. But the kid's feeling like, well, I feel great, so leave me alone. But if you give them that, right, it's like, oh, well, now it's different. We had a boy years ago who, and I told this story before probably, but it's like ping pong. He loved ping pong. And he would tell me, man, Mr. Bowman, when I get down to the garage and play ping pong, I love it. And it's like, I used to get the same feeling when I do drugs. I'm thinking, ping pong? But it's like, but he liked it.
That's your THC.
But he didn't have like ping pong at home, right?
Yeah.
There was nobody to play with. So he's a Future Man. There's boys everywhere. There's staff. So he's down there having conversations. He's laughing. He's playing ping pong. And he left, and he and I still have contact. And it's like, it's interesting because he went back and had to find his footing at home. Mm-hmm. And at home, man, all the family, this particular kid, they like drinking. And it's like they would get on his case for THC because, for being high, but they were like kind of in the same boat with alcohol. And I told him, and I was very honest with him. I wouldn't put his parents down or his family down or whatever, but it's like, it's your fight, man. You got to figure out, what do you really want? Now, he wasn't a believer, and that was a bummer because it's like you can't really point him to ultimate truth. But even the world doesn't want to be miserable, right? And doesn't want to have to stay high all the time, because that's the problem. You can't, they call it chasing a high in the drug world. Any addiction, it doesn't just, and now I feel good. You're never satiated. It's always like the second you're at the high, the next second you're coming down, right? So it's like you're always chasing that high. So they just got to figure out, I've just got to learn to live life moment by moment, day by day, like a lot of the old hymns and a lot of the scripture verses talk about, right? You're living actively in Christ. And it's like, man, it sounds, again, kind of cliche or trite, but it's like, but that's the answer. It's just living life with people.
So what you're saying is give your kids hymns.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I think we're done. Okay, so I want to touch on one thing really quick, and then let's kind of get into the practical solutions and dealing with it on a very real basis. But the question I have is, we talked about, everybody knows it's bad. So even social media, which I would say up until the past 3 years was viewed as more of a positive than a negative,
probably,
has now come to light as okay, it's addictive, it's doom scrolling, which insinuates doom. It's all this stuff that everybody sort of agrees is bad. I would say most drugs people agree is bad, but there's been a shift also in the last 2 or 3 years of both THC and nicotine, where a lot of the world is saying, no, these things are actually good for you. THC is actually relieves your stress, relieves your anxiety. It's all natural. Nicotine, oh man, it makes you focused. It's actually neuroprotective. Which is actually true, right? And you have a lot of these big people that I would say are pretty good role models in some aspects, not all. Tucker Carlson, for instance. Let's talk about him, right? Pretty good, Republican, Christian, good man, seems to have relatively good morals. Don't know much about him. I'm not condoning all of Tucker Carlson's stuff or whatever.
But Tucker, if you're listening and you want to come on the podcast, just let us know.
And stop doing nicotine. But he's a big proponent of nicotine. Oh yeah, I always have a Zen in. You should do it. RFK Jr., right? Another national leader, does nicotine, talks about it, has it in a lot. So a lot of the narrative around these two, let's just take these two really quick, has shifted towards good. And we still don't want our 16, 15, 14-year-olds on them. And I would say most people shouldn't be on them anyway, because they're both addictive, which is enough to want to stay away from it. But how do you deal with that narrative with your kid being it's good for me. All these other people are doing it. And it's actually it's being proclaimed as healthy. So it's like today's kale. So it's not quite that level. Mm-hmm. But how do you deal with that in terms of ignoring what the world says? This is what our family chooses to do. How do you have that conversation quickly and practically?
Well,
2 intakes.
Just real quick. I think that this argument is basically the ends justify the means.
Okay.
So if this substance that I take is getting the results that I want, then it's good, right? Automatically. So then that's where the conversation has to stop in a lot of people's minds. And I think we shouldn't accept that as Christians, because there's a lot of things that get maybe results that are from the world standard good, or even from a Christian standard good, but the means matter, right? God cares about the means. God cares about how things come about. So let's say a kid says he's only happy when he's smoking pot. Okay, the result is happiness, so they say, right? So therefore they think smoking pot is good. But that's not true according to Scripture, right? We shouldn't find happiness or fulfillment in a substance or these types of things. And that gets to become more of a philosophical argument, but I think it matters, because that's the line of reasoning that a lot of these kids are using, and adults, as you said. So I think that's a slippery slope, because if you start believing that, then you could start justifying a lot of things from that reasoning. And I think in Galatians 5, 22 and 23, we talk about the fruits of the Spirit, and it's very clear that one of them is self-control, right? Not THC control or alcohol control or video game control or anything like that. So it's actually having control over your own mind and your own body that God calls us to. So I think that's one angle that you can take.
Sure.
What were you going to say?
Then you said the practical steps, right? So now we're just dealing with the reality of, okay, so what about like, they'll say things like it's natural. All these good people that you mentioned, Silas, are doing it, especially nicotine. Not so much THC. But
THC is big in the older population, but I don't think it's quite shifted there for the kids. But like a lot of my patients, like probably 70 to 80% of my patients nowadays are on THC in some level.
Really?
Massive amount, yeah.
Like gummies or smoking like just a joint?
Most of them are like not smoking.
So they're doing something, a vape?
70 to 80 is probably high. Let's say 50. But I mean, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so it's doing something. There's no doubt about it. So we're called to be sober-minded, right? And the problem with any kind of drug, including nicotine, one of the problems, I guess, is if it takes you past that line of being sober-minded, like alcohol does the same thing, right?
Yeah.
A little wine or even a beer or whatever. I would never tell a person that it's sin. Now that may spark some conflict on this podcast where people are like, oh, you're saying alcohol is good. It's like, no, I'm not saying that. I don't even drink really. But it's like, it's the problem is that you're going to find with these drugs, right? And they're all the same, is your body does build a tolerance level. And then it's like, you got to keep doing it. And your body, when you replace something that your body makes normally, synthetically, through the foods you eat, some of the foods contain it, like with nicotine, right? I guess tomatoes and there's other plants that have a lot of this stuff in it. Pretty sure. But you can look it up.
That's just very intriguing.
But these are things that we're going to come across naturally, right? And our bodies, again, God made us to where we produce serotonin, we produce dopamine, we produce oxytocin. And when you put in there a heavier amount, because that's what makes us feel it good, right? Because if I come in the house and I smell cookies, I get like a happy, like, ooh, we're having cookies tonight, right? But it's like I'm not thinking, ooh, I just got this hit, because it's not that much. I'm just thinking, ooh, we're having cookies tonight. And it's kind of nice. My day, got a little brighter or whatever. If a phone rings and I'm thinking, oh gosh, something at work's gone wrong, right? Cortisol. So you feel those hits, bigger or smaller, right, affect us. Well, with drugs, we sort of get to say how much. And we're sort of like dialing it up a little bit because we want to relax, or we want to feel away with our friends, or we want to be comfortable with, like, at this party or whatever. And that's sort of the danger, because it's kind of like Zane said. It's sort of like we're finding our fulfillment in something different that we're controlling through an outward means. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you're going to be in trouble.
Which is what our culture is all about right now. You scroll through social media for any amount of time, and you're going to get an ad for something that targets some sort of feeling that you have. And, our new product is going to make it better, right? So I think it's a trap that we all can fall into, because we all want that problem to go away. And if there's an easy solution, then we're going to run to it. And I think coffee is a great thing to bring up, because
Whoa,
I know, the sacred cow of Christianity, but
not Mormonism.
Not Mormonism. That's right. But I think I'm not saying
multiple
coffee.
wives instead. Yeah, that's good.
Coffee's not sinful, but
anyway.
But if you're using it as a way to get the behavior that you're wanting from yourself or from somebody else, rather than learning self-control, is that really what Christ is calling you to do?
Right. And this sounds super, like, again, cheesy.
Cheesy, yeah.
But here's the cool reality. I guess that's cool. The reality is, we are Christians. We are called to live different. You're just trying to set the standard in your home for what you want your kids to do and to follow. Mm-hmm. They're going to, like, step out really soon. Like that Lisa lady, right? Her kids, I don't know what their ages are. Some are probably already
14,
out of the
15,
house, sounds
16,
like.
17.
Yeah. So it's like, you've already demonstrated to them. You're demonstrating faithfulness. You're demonstrating, like, I'm trying to parent you, disciple you. I'm being faithful. God's going to honor, at least to me, what I'm doing with you. You can learn from me, or they may step out even under your own, like, rule for a while, where, then you have to bring consequences down the, but it's like they may step out and have to learn for themselves the hard way, so to speak.
Yeah.
And they will. And it's a bummer, but it's like you've done your due diligence. The hard part is the world is getting better at fighting. Satan, to be very, like, broad, the tactics are getting more and more refined. So it's a tough world these kids live in. That's a fact.
To wrap up the everyone else says it, so it's okay argument, Romans 6:16, do you not know that if you present yourselves to anyone as obedient slaves or anything, you are slaves of the one of whom you obey, either of sin, which leads to death, or of obedience, which leads to righteousness? And I think it's like you said, saying going back to the child that anything that is in control of you, that you are on, that you are reliant on, that you have to constantly go back to, if that is anything other than Christ and your identity therein, then as a Christian, like you're called away from that. And that could be social media, that could be coffee, that could be soda, that could be
anything.
THC. It genuinely could be anything. And so I think that's a great avenue to take with your kids. Like these certain substances that we're talking about just make it way easier and way more. I mean, they're literally like designed and inherently addictive. Like they're going to pull you back maybe easier than soda will, or, digging a hole. If you get addicted to that, I don't know who would, but it's probably
well. And remember, like when we're talking about like the phone usage, right? Again, it's giving the kids the dopamine, serotonin, all that nonsense. But the other angle also is that you're trying to do as a parent. We're dealing with idolatry. It's like when that guest was on our Feature Men yesterday, another question I asked in front of all the boys, because again, people are shocked when they see this. Because we were watching Childhood 2.0 and they were talking about like the amount of time you spend online, and like just look at your phone app, find how much screen time you as a mom or dad have. And then after you get through justifying, well, it's podcast, it's music, it's, because I do that, how much is still there?
Probably too much.
Well, yeah. And with the kids, I mean, literally they'll say 12 hours a day, 8 hours a day, 6 hours a day. And I'm thinking that's a full-time job.
Yeah.
It's worse than a full-time job. And it's like, you're used to it. That's your entertainment. You're entertaining yourself, like Neil Postman said, to death.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So real quick, we are running out of time here. We probably have 5-10 minutes. So let's jump into the quick sort of solutions. What do you do when you find your kid has one of these? What do you do when they come to you telling you they tried one at school and now they feel guilty and want to talk about it? Run through that super practically.
Yeah.
Run through the first one first, or second one, which is your kid comes home. Hopefully you guys have a good discipleship relationship. They were at a sporting event or school. They tried a vape. Now they feel really guilty and they don't know what to do. So they're coming to tell you.
Yeah. So this is interesting. So yesterday I literally had a conversation with a dad. We had a new student get brought in and he was acting crazy that night. Not when he got brought in by his dad, but that night. And the staff were saying, I think he was on something. So I went in his room yesterday morning and I woke him up and I'm like, hey man, just be straight. You're not in trouble. But like, what were you on last night? And he said, oh, well, nothing. I'm like, wrong, something. just tell me what it is. You're not in trouble. And he told me he had gotten some like pills out of his dad's Dop kit that he had like, with him for different reasons, for medical purposes. And he'd taken like 4 of them because he felt like, because they were for anxiety. And he was like, I knew I was going to school here and I was nervous and I just wanted to take these pills. And I called the dad and said, hey man, just so you know, blah, blah, blah. Count the pills. Let me know like how many are missing. So I want to make sure he hasn't got more of them. But here's the thing. The dad said immediately, wow, he must really trust you because he told you that. I asked him the same thing. And he said, because he had done it the night before too. And he didn't tell me that. He didn't trust me. But what happened was he had access to them still at home, right? Or in the hotel. And he was thinking he wanted them the next day.
Yeah.
So he didn't own it because then he would lose access to it. So it's a weird mix of knowing where your kid is, but asking the question. Don't be afraid to ask. Just ask him, right? And then if the kid knows, like when I said to that kid, you're not going to be in trouble, right? Because you're already here. We just want to actually help you. He knew you're not going to bring any consequences. What do I lose by telling you? So he told me. Right?
The other thing I'll say there, just really quick, where you said don't be afraid to ask, is we've talked about this a lot in the past episodes, but just to touch on it, the first time you ask and they say, yeah, I did, how you respond is going to probably establish their answers truthfully or deceitfully for a long time.
Yeah. But it's hard because as parents, we feel like a failure, or we feel like, my kids did this terrible thing, especially if it's like sexually oriented, right? Or something that just really hits you hard. The drugs one's a pretty tough one as well. But just in a way, you just got to get over yourself and realize they're just humans. They're no better or worse than people that we see that are homeless. I mean, those homeless people who are drug addicts, let's say, started out as somebody's little girl or boy, right? So I think we just have to really prepare ourselves every day in prayer. God, help me for that day that this is a hard conversation. Help me and pray for your kid every day. I've heard of parents who are praying for their kid's spouse. And I think, man, I never do that. And it's like, I probably should, I don't know. It's just we can never almost like do enough. And it's not like it's a competition or it's not like it's some burden we're trying to place on you, but like Don't be afraid. Do your job. Jump in. At the end of the day, you're going to be tired and you will have missed some opportunities, but just know, okay, before Christ, I think I stand pretty clean.
Yeah.
I think I've tried to do my best today. That's it. Then just go to sleep. So.
Yeah. And I think just some more practical steps are you have to draw a hard line sometimes. So if it has gone further than, hey, I just tried this at school, and you're starting to find that stuff in the home you're starting to find that they've been using frequently, you're going to have to intervene. And that may mean taking the door off of their room. That may mean...
That's a popular.
Yeah, I know.
That'll get some fun comments.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, what they're basically showing is I can't be trusted right now.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not mean. Some parents may think it's mean, or some, I've heard some therapists say like, no, they have to have their safe space, right, to be able to express themselves. But the problem is you're going to eventually get into this place where you're just allowing them to continue this behavior.
Yeah.
You're what's the word? You're being subsidizing it, or basically. Yep. And
you're a willing party to it.
Oh yeah, like you said, a willing party to their death. So don't be a willing party to that. You may have to take some extreme stances in your home, and they're not going to be happy with you. You're going to become, in their minds, the enemy for a time. Obviously, hopefully you have a discipleship relationship with them where you can talk openly with them. But once a kid has gotten into that world and they've tasted that, they're going to be mad at anyone that's trying to take that away from them.
Yeah.
So don't take it personally. Remember, your number one job is to protect them and share the truth with them as a parent. And yeah, like Aaron said, pray fervently for them, because this is a nasty cycle that a lot of kids, unfortunately, are prey to these days.
I think the last thing, just to jump on the back of that, is to say, like you said, with your screen time, because it could be drugs with this. Like we're talking about a vape right now, but it could also be screen time. It could be social media. It could be a lot of things. Just a reminder, like as the parent, go look at your screen time, because like you've said this a lot, like kids are great at calling out hypocrisy. And if you're on there all the time in front of your kids, whether it's for doom scrolling or for finding a recipe on Pinterest for dinner that night, like justified or not justified, just check your own heart first. Make sure you're sort of in the clear here before you jump in. And then when you do jump in, just be really careful, cautious, and slow, I think, in the way that you do it. Don't get caught up in the emotions. Don't get caught up in the I'm a failure, or the fear of, oh my gosh, my kid's addicted to nicotine, or he's addicted to THC. We're never going to get past this. Just settle down, breathe, talk with your spouse, get on the same page, and then go in there and do what you have to do. Don't hesitate to do that, but do it in a way that you want to end up with your hands clean too.
Yeah, and like, I mean, when you said like check your own stuff, you're right, 100%. But that's also not your ticket out. Meaning, if you are guilty, you still got to do your job. I would just be honest with the kid and say, hey man, I'm on you about the phone, but I'm struggling with it too. Here's exactly where mine's at this week, and we're both going to check in on Tuesday. And here's what I'm asking of you, whether it's fair or not, hypocritical or not. I still have to raise you.
Yeah.
And I'm wrong too. And, I've confessed this to your mom or whatever, my discipleship partner, whatever. But like, it's not your ticket out if you're not clean, because you'll never be clean.
Yeah.
We're never ready to get married. You're never ready to have kids. You're never a perfect parent. It's like, welcome to life. So
you told me you were a perfect parent a lot.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But there are exceptions.
It sounds like Dad needs a tattoo.
I do.
So anyway, that's a very broad subject. If you have more further questions on it, need more specifics, have a specific situation you want us to speak into, sort of comment. It's just sort of a broad, generic topic, so it's hard to be super specific and give very tailored answers.
Yeah, when you see like some of the titles of the podcast dealing with that, there's going to be a little bit of repeat, but there's going to be probably new stories, new nuances that might hit you more specifically for where you're at. And if you ask questions, for sure it will. Mm-hmm. So please do.
If you're still listening, first of all, thank you. It helps us a lot. If you are liking what you're hearing, please subscribe, like, and then send this episode to all your friends and family and anyone that you think would benefit from it. And if you look on the show notes, there's a couple things. First of all, I'm going to drop the link to Childhood 2.0 and probably Social Dilemma as well, because those are both very helpful resources just dealing with the social media side of things. Second, if you have any questions, you can send them to questions@futurefamiliesmedia.com. And lastly, and arguably most importantly, go join the school community if you haven't yet. It's starting to become a lot more active. A lot of moms, especially, touching base and finding resources. Like the question they asked about phones, like 2 or 3 other moms commented and said what they've done. And it's helpful just to see what other families are doing because we can't touch on everybody and everybody's different.
Well,
So,
yeah, and who cares what we say all the time?
yeah,
I mean,
we're not always right.
You guys going back and forth is probably more valuable than the podcast.
Yeah.
So that's great.
So get on the school community. It's free right now. Who knows how long that'll last. And yeah, any questions, send us in. But other than that, thank you for listening and come back next week where we'll be talking about
Yes.
there's
Building
not
a
like obvious
firm
stuff.
foundation.
Ooh, building a
with your
firm
children
foundation. Another
life.
hymn.
For their faith.
All right, we'll see you next week.